Hello. Hi there, beautiful souls. Just want to make sure we've got, hopefully everything's in place. So welcome. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana, and today I'm here to share with you a card spread. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Wheel of the Year, as well as doing a year ahead spread. And part of my motivation for doing this is just to start talking about timings and tarot and how we can use the tarot to predict timings as well as to tune into the energy around certain times of year. And so today's conversation might go a little bit in different directions. But if we need to carry this on in a subsequent video, I will do that. Hello, Claire, welcome. I also want to let you know that this is going to be the major topic in series 2 of Read With Me, which starts a week today. So if you're able to join me for that, then we can dive into this topic a little more slowly and have a conversation about what it is, perhaps your discomfort level with prediction and tarot, or how you could build these spreads little by little so that you could start to really understand the energy of what it means to do predictive reading, to do readings that involve timing and so forth, because it can be a little intimidating to kind of put that power, if you will, into the cards. Hello, Julia, welcome. My Voice Tarot. Thanks for joining me this morning. I have 3 decks on my table, and I will be using all of them. Primarily the Wildwood we'll be talking about for the base of the Wheel of the Year reading. I also have the Llewellyn and the Druidcraft. So we're looking at those 3 decks today. And I want to just share with you let's see if I can split the screen. No, that doesn't work. Okay, let's just go here. All right. The Wheel of the Year is a tradition that's held in through many different pagan lineages. And there is, of course, different Wiccan, there's lots of different, through the Wiccan practices, there are different lines of different thoughts about the seasons and how each of the Sabbats is celebrated and so forth. Each of the fire ceremonies is celebrated. In the pagan tradition and in the Celtic tradition, things can go a little bit differently. And where I'm coming from in this, neither as a member of a coven, nor as somebody who is a druid or grew up in the Celtic tradition, is that I feel really connected to this through its connection to the earth. And this is one of the reasons I do moon spreads, that I follow the moon so carefully, is that in using the Wheel of the Year, we're able to connect to the energy of the seasons so intimately. And I find that this is just a great way to connect. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of our work. It's that deep, deep connection. So let's just go around the wheel here. Claire asks, are we going to talk about parallel alternate timelines or how time doesn't exist? Yes, of course, we're going to talk about that. But I just want to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page here as far as what the Wheel of the Year is. So the Wheel of the Year, we have the winter solstice and the summer solstice. So we have the 4 corners, spring equinox over here, also referred to as Ostara. And then we have the fall equinox, also referred to as Mabon. And so summer is also called Litha and winter is called Yule. And I know for a lot of people, this is, we associate Christmas with the 25th of December, but the winter solstice falls a little bit earlier. And so the Yule celebration begins at the winter solstice. And then in the cross quarters, we have these celebrations, if you will, these harvest festivals that fall on generally the first of a month. So Samhain on the 1st of November or October 31st. And then we have Imbolc here, usually on the 1st or the 2nd of February. Beltane usually on the 1st of May, sometimes celebrated the eve before that. And then over here now, Lugnasad, also known as Lammas, is the one that's in the August 1st. To me, this one feels like the middle of the summer, but actually it's where are we here? The summer solstice that's referred to as midsummer, the midsummer celebration. Okay, so this is the wheel that I am going to be referring to. Hey there, Mel. So just saying that. So there are 8 points on the wheel that we're looking at in this spread. And so Claire brought up a really good conversation that I would like to have with you and share with you, is that time, of course, is a construct. Time is an illusion. Time is something that human, has constructed to make sense and to make order in his day, in his year. And please don't, that I can use there if you like, in their year. This, so how do we manage time in tarot when time is actually a spiral? Time weaves in and time weaves out. And knowing all of that and trying to, over the years and working with different spiritual practices, to understand that we can be in different experiences of time at the same time. And for those of you that have experienced astral travel, for those of you that have indeed experienced, that being on the edge of a portal kind of thing, I've talked about this before on my channel. You start to realize that, whoa, what is time? And we also have this, sometimes we have we have these gaps in time, even in this 3-dimensional world. You know how we can be somewhere and then we go, like, where did time go? Like time is a perception. So why do these kind of spreads with tarot, and why focus on time? How does it benefit us? I guess that is the biggest question of all. So how does it benefit us? So that's one question we need to deal with. The other question is that it is the most popular kind of question I get as a tarot reader. What is coming for me in the end of this year, for the rest of this year? What does my February look like? People need assurance. People need comfort. People need to have their intuition confirmed, even if they don't call it intuition. There's so many reasons why people ask these questions. And I really think it's a comfort thing, because there is so much discomfort in the unknown. And even for those of you who are very comfortable in the unknown, who are moving more into a spiritual path and leaning into a place of trust and not having to know all the time, there also is a curiosity about it, about seeing past, present, future simultaneously, about walking through other lives, about walking through future lives or past lives. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with playing with it. And if it does provide some insight or some comfort, so be it. And if it offends you in any way, then don't do it. But I think it's worth the exploration. And the most important thing for me in every aspect of all of these readings that I do is that I am moving in synchronicity with the pattern of the planet where I live at that time. Okay? So if it is a new moon, if it is the beginning of the spring, I'm going to plant my seeds. I'm going to plant my 3-dimensional seeds in my garden. I'm going to plant the seeds for whatever it is that I want to grow for my own internal harvest. If it is a time of cold and everything is dying around me externally, then I'm not going to be planting seeds. And so it's important for me, and I'm sharing this with you today because this is my own personal experience. It's important for me to move with the seasons of the year. And each of us has a different experience depending how far away we are from the equator and which side of the equator we are on. Right? So some of us have 4 seasons, some of us have 6 seasons, some of us have 1 season. And so it's very different. And I think it's important to focus on the aspect of time that is relative to your experience so that you can move in sync with your environment. You don't want to be swimming upstream. You want to be moving with the flow. And I believe if you move with the flow, you move with the lunar cycle, you move with the harvest cycle, you move with the weather where you live, then things are a lot easier. And so that's why I do this. The other thing, I refer to this from time to time, is a teaching from Iyengar. And he has a wonderful book, has a lot of wonderful books actually, Light on Life. And one of the things in Light on Life that he talks about, and I forget which chapter it's in, it's about our discomfort with the change of the seasons and our inability to embrace the heat when it's hot and our inability to be with the cold when it's cold. And so he talks about how we like to put on the air conditioner in the summer and freeze ourselves to death, and how we crank the heat in the winter and we don't change our dress adequately, our clothing adequately, and we're not comfortable in the current conditions. And so these are all things that run through my mind as I contemplate all of this. And so I just invite you to reflect on that as well too. Yeah. And I mentioned yesterday, I don't know if you heard me yesterday, I was talking about a video that I watched about a woman who was working, I don't know, was probably in a historical house or something. And for 5 years she worked there and she wore 18th century clothing. And I'm not sure where it was in the world. And so she talked about the effects of wearing 18th century clothing 5 days a week for 5 years. And it was really beautiful because it made me think about all of this and what I was going to talk about today, because in that time period, people did dress for the weather. They knew when to wear wool and when to pad their clothing. They knew when to wear linens and cottons and gauzes and lighter fabrics, and they dressed accordingly, right? There was no polyester, right? There was just, you dressed and you covered your skin, you protected your body with layers, with umbrellas, with long skirts from the sun. And yeah, so all of this I think is relative to your question, Claire. So that's my very, very long-winded answer. Okay. So this is a trimmed copy of the Wildwood, which we're going to be looking at. And in a few minutes, I'm going to shift the camera. And I'm going to use the Wildwood to mark each of the 8 points on the wheel of the year. Just let me turn off the banner. I also want to let you know that I'm going to be pausing at 11 o'clock and I'm going to be doing a guided meditation. And then just pausing for a bit of silence and reflection. Let's turn all of these off. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to be marking these points on the wheel with the Wildwood Tarot. And then what I'm going to do is shuffle another deck and then place those on the wheel as well too. Okay. So pardon me. I'm really trying to be more high tech. It's really quite something. This whole this whole experience of so one of the things I want to show you that I've done, and this is I really do need to get another copy of this deck. On certain of the cards, I've actually put a removable sticker. So here we have on the stag card, the number 8 card, I've put the sticker for Ostara. And I've made a few notes on it based on the wheel of the year for the Wildwood Tarot. Okay. And so this is one way that I'm able to work with these work with this spread so easily, is because I've created these significator cards. And so for Ostara, we have the 7th and the 8th card, which is really nice because this doesn't happen in all of the Wildwood Tarot. The other thing I want to say is that if you don't have the Wildwood Tarot, this might be a bit of a deep dive today, but I'm going to try to simplify this as much as I can. So just bear with me here. And if I don't see your comment right away, I will get back to your comment as soon as I can. Okay, I'm just going to move that over. And I'm going to try to go to here. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. All right, so one of the things on this deck, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get my phone here too, just bear with me. So we have 2 major cards for each of the Sabbats. And what I'm going to do, once I get you guys on my phone here so I can see if you have any questions. Okay, I'm going to place these as the markers for the spread. And I'm sorry, I should have done this first. Okay, so here we are in March. And I will move these around in a second. Bear with me. We have these 2 cards for February 1st. So we have February, March, May, September, pardon me, September, November, September, August, Samhain. Sorry guys, just bear with me here. So we have September, October, December. I'm going to put the Yule up at the top, so Samhain here. And then we have August down here. Okay. And hopefully I've got everything else. Oh, and we've got Litha. I've left out Litha. So Litha is June. So we've got December, February, March, May, June. Okay. So over here is Samhain, which we just had. It was so amazing this year that we could do this on the full moon. And then how do I go? Sorry, I'm just going. I want to go to the chat in case you guys have questions. Okay. So here is Samhain. And in this deck, we have 2 cards for each of the Sabbats. So we have an outer card and an inner card. So the inner card speaks to the energy of our human experience, our 3-dimensional experience. So for example, at Samhain, the 3-dimensional experience is that of the devil. And in this particular deck, it speaks to embracing the shadow. If we do not embrace the dark, we cannot be complete and whole. So that's the inner experience. The outer experience of Samhain is death, which makes perfect sense. Okay. And so this is energetically, harvest wise and so forth, the time of dying. Everything outside is dying. So it makes perfect sense that the universal journey, the outer journey, is the card of death. And then we go up here to Yule, and at Yule, the inner journey is the Hermit or the Hooded Man, and these cards do have alternate names. And we also have the Great Bear, which is the Judgment card. It's just such an amazing card to have here. One of the things I like about these cards is you can also draw pictorially from the information. We have these beautiful northern lights here in the background, and just the way this whole card is set up. I'm just going to lay these out really quickly here. So for Imbolc, February 1st, the inner journey is the ancestor. So this is the 5th card corresponding to the Hierophant, sort of, kind of. We have the star for the outer journey. For spring, the inner journey, here is the Archer, and the Stag is the outer journey. Hopefully we can keep these all on the screen. And then down here at Beltane, so May 1st, May Day, of course, we're going to have the Lover's card. So the Lover's card is the inner journey. I'll put that on the inside. And this Temperance card is so amazing. So this is the 2 snakes. This doesn't just look like the maypole, kind of, the practices of the maypole dance and May 1st. This is balance. And so these 2 cards are such a perfect significator cards for Beltane. Down here, and I'll tighten this up for you so you can see everything. So I'm only using these as the significator cards for the spread. And when I do the spread every time, I do not lay these out because I kind of have this in my head. So here is the winter solstice, down here is the summer solstice. And at the summer solstice, we have the green man and the green woman representing the both the inner and the outer journey. So they are a pair. They are not separate. They're not the emperor and the empress. They both contribute equally in a very balanced way to the energy of this time of year. And then over here, Lughnasadh, also called Lammas, for the inner journey, we have the Blasted Oak, which is not exactly the Tower card. The Blasted Oak is a combination both of the Hangman, sorry, I've got so many stickers on here, it's hard to see, the Hanged Man as well as the Tower card. And this really speaks to, it reminds me a little bit of, how in some decks, the 9 of Cups really speaks to be careful of too much, the laziness, I think in some decks it's called, and there's that aspect of that. So having the Blasted Oak here in this beautiful time of year where we have so much abundance, we have all of the fruits of the garden, the fruits on the trees. Usually the weather is warm in the summer, it's comfortable, we don't have to wear too much clothing, life is easy. And so here we have the Blasted Oak to remind us that this too shall pass. And so our teachings at this particular point on the wheel are really, really important, and how we integrate all of that abundance that we have at this time of year. And then the outer journey is the the Woodward. And so the Woodward equates to the Strength card, and this is about our perseverance and our tenacity and our perception of how we navigate through this time of year. This is also of the time of year where we have a lot of summer storms. There could be lightning. Where I am, sometimes we even have hailstorms as the seasons begin to change. So that's what's happening there. So I'm just going to say hi to people that are strolling on in here. Mekomar Artist, hello, Ishi. And Alana and Blue Nile, welcome. Mystic Misfit, thanks for joining this walk through. And like I said, there's no way that I can cover everything that I want to cover here, but I really wanted to do this because it feels like such a timely, time to do this. If you've never done it or you want to do it, it's not too late to do a wheel of the year. And I'm also going to talk about when to do this spread. Excuse me. So over here is the wheel. Okay, so here is the wheel. This is the outer experience of Imbolc. So here we are at the autumnal equinox. The inner experience is a time of deep, deep reflection. So this is where we begin to move inward. And here we have this beautiful card called the Mirror, which equates to the Hanged Man, but sort of kind of not. It's a much deeper card. The outer experience is about change. It's the wheel. And this is a perfect place for the wheel card to sit, because here we are in this major, change of season. So these 16 cards, these 16 major cards have specific associations to different times of year. So one of the things you can do if you're just doing like a 3-card spread with this deck is to start to memorize what the timing is for these 16 cards. And if they were to show up in a reading, you would know that. So for example, if the Archers showed up and it was a when question, or somebody was asking about, well, when can I expect my job offer? Well, probably you'll get your job offer in the early spring, right? So this is one way that you could do that. There's lots of different ways you can work with this deck, and that's something that I'm going to talk about in the course. But today, we're just going to kind of use these cards as significator cards. Now, there's more to this. There's more to this, and I want to kind of bring in a few other layers. And unfortunately, I've lost my moon card in this deck. It fell between the crack in the summer. It fell down through the deck and the wood, unfortunately, and I do need to repurchase this deck because I would like another copy as well too, one for teaching and then one just for the. So if you don't have the deck, you get all of this information explained here, and you can see I've written the numbers of the cards on here as well too. And the introduction is just absolutely amazing and so informative. So during the time of the midwinter solstice, in the center of the wheel here, we have the wheel divided into four corners, and we have 4 more major cards that can be brought into consideration as you are as you're contemplating your reading. And it's just incredible how these cards fit in and how they can speak to the reading. So during the season of winter, we have the Wanderer, which is the Fool. And this is a card that sits at the foundation, the basis of the wheel, and really speaks to the energy of this portion of the wheel. And then on the opposite side, we have the World Tree. So this is the World card. And so one of the things I like to do when I'm using the Wildwood Tarot as significator cards is, because in a moment we're going to shuffle a deck and we're going to do a spread, and I'm going to place cards on each of these 8 points. I want to see if the World Tree energy speaks to this quarter. Okay. And then on either side of the autumnal equinox and the vernal equinox, we have the Seer and the Shaman. And the Seer is in the colder season, the winter season, and then the Shaman's over here in the spring. And if I know this is a lot of cards to look at on the table. So what I'm doing here is just laying out the wheel of the year with the energy according to the Wildwood Tarot. And I think it's a really beautiful model to use, just to use with this. Okay, so these 4 cards here kind of get squished into the center. And I may or may not speak to them in a reading, but their energy it's really kind of incredible how they get built into that. Okay. I'm just pausing here just to make sure I haven't forgotten anything I want to say. Okay. Now, we also have the sun and the moon that get involved in this whole thing. And like I said, I've lost my moon card. And if you draw a line this way on the wheel, like this way, so everything on the lower half, so the summer half of the year is affected by the energy of the sun of life. And then everything on this half of the year is affected by the moon. And I'm not going to lay those cards down. I don't have the moon card. Like I said, it's lost in the woods. Okay. Now, the next part, which we are going to build into the reading, is I'm just over here. I think I have them all separated. Arrows, stones. I'm just separating it looks like they're a little bit mixed up. I thought I had them separated. The 4 minor suits. So just give me 1 second here. So now we are in the season of stones. And I do want to talk about this just a little bit, about what minor suits you associate with winter. Because this varies, of course, from deck to deck. And the perception of seasons and how you perceive the seasons. And we talked about this in my class. I've talked about it in different videos as well, too. So my question right now for you is, in the season of winter, so over here, what minor suit do you associate with winter? That's my question. And why? And this is something that there is no right or wrong answer to. It's just something that I think it's worthwhile. Good. Okay, I've got these all sorted out. It's definitely worthwhile you contemplating. So over here, I have in this corner the 14 cards for the suit of stones, which is winter. Okay. And then I'm going to, and then we've got vessels. So vessels goes over here. I have no idea what that is on the back of my card. And then we have bows. So bows goes over here. So bows is fire. And arrows goes here. So arrows is swords. So in this deck, arrows is begins at in the spring. So this is what I do. So I place the 4 suits in the corners like this. Okay, you with me? I am looking at the chat and there's no questions, so it looks like you're with me. All right, so now I have the Druidcraft Tarot in hand, and I'm going to shuffle the Druidcraft Tarot. So one of the things you could do also, which I have done, so this this thing here, you could also print something like this, or I know a lot of people have a reading cloth as well too, and just lay that down on the table. You could also let's do, so you can see this fully. You could also make significator cards. And do you know, I went through all my decks, Oracle and Tarot. I could not find, you place them according to Wildwood suits, correct? Yes. So all of the stones cards are here. All of the arrows cards are here. So this is air. All of the fire cards are here. And here is all of the vessel cards, the water cards. I could not find one deck that had a Mabon card, that had like that had significator cards. Now I used to have the Wheel of the Year Tarot, and it does have certain cards associated with certain things, but I was actually looking for a deck that had the eight, you know, these 8 names. And so I could use those as significator cards. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paint some and make them. Okay, so Julia says, so far so good. Excellent. All right, so I'm shuffling the Druidcraft Tarot. The other deck that I love to use with this spread is the Llewellyn, because it just fits in with the energy of this so beautifully. Or alternatively, I would use your favorite witchy deck. You know, like if you have a, the Robin Wood works really well with this too. You know, it's a Wiccan deck. Any Wiccan deck, any kind of deck that feels associated with the earth and so forth. So in this spread, what I do is I put down 8 cards, and I put down, I'm going to put a card in the center as well too. And then I'm going to shuffle each of these, and I'm going to draw 2 cards for each of, oh, that card's flying everywhere. Let's not lose any more cards. 2 of those for each of the corners. So in total, I'm going to have 9, 11, 13, 15, 17 cards in the reading. All right, Druidcraft is flying everywhere. Okay, so the next question is, which card goes first? This is one of the reasons that so this is the new year, right? This is the new year of this particular way of being. Let's call it that. A lot of people do their year ahead spread, and they started here at Yule. And the other place that people often do their year ahead spread is they lay it out for Ostara. In this deck, the beginning of all of the conversations start with the beginning of the year as Ostara, which is in alignment with the astrological seasons. So if you follow astrology, so this is Aries, and this is where the year begins. Okay, so you could do this at any time of year. Now, if you were doing this spread at Beltane, I would put down this as the first card. I would lay my first card here. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But because we're just out of Samhain and we have not yet arrived at Yule, I'm going to place the first card here. Okay. And so I don't know how this is going to work, because this is not, I had not brought a question into this, nor do I have a person in mind. But we're just going to kind of go for it. I guess the next question is, do I ask a question with this kind of a spread? And the answer is yes. So I ask the querent, is there anything in particular you would like me to focus on in your reading? And so that gives me a direction for the conversation. Okay. So not the easiest card that has come up in the center. So for sure, even in this kind of spread, I'm looking to a topic, I'm looking to a conversation to have about whatever it is, like how is my career going to evolve over the next year? Or am I going to be safe in my home, or, you know, whatever. I think it's really important to bring a focus into the reading. It's just not an arbitrary general reading for the whole year. So I'm just going to pause for a second here. And I haven't really noticed what cards are down, so I'm just going to think of a question. So my question is going to revolve around, well, let's go with career. And let's talk about the change of career. Let's talk about if there's going to be any warnings about career or shifts or particular timing, anything I need to focus on my career throughout the next rotation of the wheel. Okay, so that's going to be our topic of conversation. I'm going to put those away. So I've laid down 9 cards from the Druid Craft. My voice here said, I'm no good at upside down. First card went on what month? Is this upside down? Are you seeing this upside down? You're not seeing this right side up? Can somebody tell me? I'm laying this out upside down for you. It's upside down for me, but is it not right side up for you? Can somebody please tell me in the chat? Because I can very quickly change this if we need to. Just waiting for you guys to comment here before I go on. No, you are seeing it right side up. Okay. So I'm no good at upside down. First card went on what month? So this is Samhain right here. We just came out of Samhain. So this is the first card. So this is where I'm going to start this reading right here. Okay. And the card for Samhain is the World. I'm going to shuffle these 14 cards for the energy of stones. And I'm going to draw 2 cards from stones. And do the same for each of the corners. Okay, so we've got 7 of stones, healing, and 8 of stones, skill. So that is Pentacles. Okay, but in this deck, it really is, it's a time of winter, right? Things are stiller, and you can tell by the artwork. So over here, we are in the spring. We're in the suit of arrows. We have the King of Arrows, the Kingfisher, and the 2 of Arrows, Injustice. That's really interesting. We have King of Wands and King of Arrows here. And then down here, let me know if you have any questions. I know this is a lot of things to look at the table. And so over here, I'm shuffling the suit of fire. So if you were doing this with a different deck, you know, you could do the same thing. Okay, I'm turning this so I can see what I've got here. 10 of bows, responsibility, and ace of bows. Ooh, that's interesting. So I love it when there's like aces and 10s and the cards are in sequence. And then here we have 2 cards in sequence as well too. It really shows how things are coming down. Okay, so now we are in water, vessels. It's awesome. I like that this reading has the wheel card here. So just checking, I'm just glancing. So we have a major here, we have a major here, we have a major there. The majors are evenly spread out through the reading. That's really nice. The other thing too, in using the Druid Craft is you do have associations with moons and seasons as well too. And it is not entirely different from the wildwood. There's a lot of crossover. So we have the 8 of Vessels and the 3 of Vessels. Rebirth and joy. Really interesting. Okay. So now what I do is I begin to interpret the spread. And I just take my time. So I'm going to start at Samhain. And now it is November 11th. So we're 11 days into, this turn of the wheel right here. And so what this card here what this card signifies for me is that it truly was a completion of the wheel for this person. To have this card fall here feels like, in relation to the question about the career, that, yeah, so you're talking about career, you're asking about career. Well, maybe this is the year that you are going to find a new path, find a new way. So let's really focus on that. For you to pull up this world card here on top of the season of Samhain, where we're looking at death, where we're looking at really bringing your life into balance, that makes perfect sense. Can we gain any clarity from the 7 of Stones or the 8 of Stones? Well, for sure we can. These are, I'll bring these cards closer so you can see. Just give me a second. There we go. So I see both of these cards as very, very meditative, as is this whole suit, inner reflection, and that I would suggest that the querent spend some time in healing, in meditation, in taking some time for their self to contemplate this year ahead and to not really take any action at this time. This is not a time of action. This is a time to go inward, to maybe connect with yourself in a way that you haven't spent time connecting with. There's something about this 8 of Stones that just feels, when you create, like, Amber, please, you've learned a new project, you've learned a new skill, and you actually finish your first knit sweater, or I don't know, like you've rolled your first candle, or you've carved your first bowl or something. It feels like part of this reflection about which direction you want to go is very hands-on, and to do something with your hands would really help in weaving, in understanding what we're going to be weaving here. So I these cards make total sense here to appear, in this trio. And I know this is a hey there, and okay, so Julia, you have to go. Okay, so you can watch the replay later. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, what I'm saying is this just makes total sense here, even though, and I find this happens even with teaching style readings, that we get some really good medicine in here. I will come back to the seer and the energy of this once we come all the way around and we just have our first little preview of everything. In the season of Yule, we have the 4 of Pentacles. Now, isn't that interesting? Because doesn't the season of winter and the season of Yule feel like that season of clinging and holding on, maybe holding on a little too tight? But it does really, if we can create our foundation in the darkness, if we can. The other thing about Yule that is really important is that we do experience the darkness and the long nights. And that as we move into this season, we start to work a little more with fire and begin to experience the light. But this feels perfectly fine here. Like I'm not worried about anything. It feels just like taking stock of all that you have. It feels like a lot of gratitude. If I look at the cards that are underneath, we have the hooded man, right? So we have the hooded man who is reminding us that even in the darkness, we do have light. It's reminding that the inner journey is a balance of light and dark. And there's something really kind of beautiful that's going to be revealed in the darkness for this person. And so while this feels like a kind of possessive kind of card at this time, I wouldn't worry about this. I just want to make sure that you light candles when you need to light candles, and you're not just totally focusing on your stuff, and you're not worrying about the financial aspect of your career. Because sometimes when we're looking to a new career, there's this fear that we're not going to make enough money, that we're not going to make ends meet. When I glance ahead here and I look at the King of Wands, and I look at the Eight of Pentacles here, the Chariot, the Prince of Swords, I know everything is going to be okay. I know everything is going to be fine. And if the querent needs that reassurance, I can quickly kind of throw that in. I'm not going to go through this whole reading, every single card, but I'm going to take you through definitely a little bit more. And I'm going to be mindful, because in 6 minutes, I'm going to stop and I'm going to do a little bit of a meditation and reflection. When we turn this corner here to February 1st, this is actually the start of spring. This is our Groundhog Day kind of energy. And this is the time for you to kind of stand up. It's time for you to really decide what it is you want to do and own up with what you want to do. You've also got the King of Arrows here. So this is not a time to be sitting back and counting your money. This is a time to be reaching out, to really taking inventory of your leadership skills and acting on those things. In the season of Imbolc, we're also looking at the energy of the new moon. So this is a beautiful time to kick everything into action. And there may be this is the Two of Swords here, some conflicting things that happen. And whether you go with the keyword of injustice, or whether you go with the more of a Rider-Waite kind of a reading for this particular Two of Swords cards, whether you look to karmic balance, I'm wondering if your previous career was not in alignment with your path, and that you standing up in a way for yourself and creating this new path is going to bring this karmic balance better into alignment. And I'm looking over here and I'm seeing that that's kind of exactly what's happening here. I want to speak to this Nine of Swords in the middle, because it feels like you perhaps didn't want to change careers, or that there's a tremendous amount of fear about changing careers. Maybe you were pushed into this through conflict in the office. Maybe there was some backstabbing at work. Maybe, I don't know why this question has come up, but this is not going to serve you well. And so I really need to speak to the querent about how to be working through this. And as a healer, as an integrated healer, I'm really going to support the querent with how to work through this Nine of Swords as they progress through the wheel of the year. Okay. And then we go on, and here we are over in Ostara. So this is such a bright and beautiful time of year. Again, strong energy. You can also, and sometimes, so I'm going to go back over here. You can also weave in, if you're familiar with the astrological associations, you could weave in some of this as it speaks, as you're comfortable with it. Right? So that can also sometimes plays into how I discuss this reading. Usually when I do this kind of reading, I write it out. Rarely do I do this live with somebody, but if they want to do it live, I do that with them. And we have here the Eight of Pentacles, which is such a gorgeous card to have here following this King of Wands and this King of Arrows. It feels like you've really figured out what it is that you want to do. And you also had this same card over here in the Season of Stones. So this tells me that you have been reflecting on this. And I'm going to mention for sure to the querent that here you've got the same card appearing. So it's really important that this new career path that you choose you feel so connected to it. And when I see the Eight of Pentacles, I have a feeling that this is something, when you ask a little kid, what are you going to be when you grow up? I often feel with querents that this is what they wanted to be when they grew up, but didn't do it. And so now this is like a second kick at the can, and this is the opportunity. Love, love, love that this has come up in Ostara. This is such a beautiful, bright place for that to show up. Okay. And then as we go around, we have the Chariot. Well, in order to grow your business, you're going to need to really step it up and to move in a direction that feels right? You can't sit back. You're going to have to do something about this. And I want to speak to the cards underneath as well, too. So we have the Lovers and the Balance card underneath. And to have the Chariot on top of Balance and the Chariot on top of Lovers is a reminder of this person's perfect ability and perfect strength in balancing everything in their life. And this is just such a beautiful trio of energy here. So all I want to say is that when it comes around, when May 1st comes around, this is when you need to kind of burst forth and go for it, and just really know that you have the power to keep everything in check. I do want to address this here. So I'm just going to pause just for a moment here. I want to honor 1111. I'm going to take you into a guided meditation. And then when I come back around 11:12, 11:13, we're going to start right here. Okay. So I'm just going to shift the camera back to me. Hello. Actually, I'll leave that right there. So if you are somewhere where 11/11 is not a statutory holiday, I'm in Canada, and it's a time where, from the time we're school children, we're taught to reflect on the past. And there's a deep connection with ancestors here as well, too. And I think it's really beautiful that this reflection comes at a time just after Samhain, when the energy and the connection with the ancestors has been so strong. So I invite you to close your eyes, to kick off your slippers or your shoes, to get really comfortable, to bring your physical body into a comfortable seat, and connect with your breath. If you'd like to pause and light a candle, go ahead and light a candle. The flame in my candle is going wild. Follow your breath, each breath in and out. And feel your hips in the chair or the floor, wherever your hips are, feel your hips. And your legs and your knees and ankles and feet, and allow the lower body to become a little bit heavier. Soften the lower body. So make micro adjustments, moving your ankles, your toes, and allow the lower body to feel safe and rooted and anchored. Feel your feet connected to the earth, and acknowledge the earth in extension as the support of the physical planet, all of her creatures, the feathered, the furred, the finned, the four-legged, the creepy crawlies. And the energy of the mother who looks after the whole planet, who maintains the ecosystems, the balance. And feel your feet connected to her, and also feel the weight of your whole body being held by her. You are supported by her. You are held in her arms. And from this deep connection, this rootedness and place of belonging and safety in the arms of Mother, connect to your inhale breath and allow the inhale breath to inspire and to fill you up. Feel its lightness and its buoyancy, and even allow it to bring a little bit of a sway to your body. Feel its potential. Feel its expansiveness and allow it to expand your rib cage, to make your shoulders feel a little bit lighter. Perhaps your arms even want to float away from your body. Your arms, like wings, are light. Your wrists and your hands are light. And there's a lightness to your head. And then just float between the lightness and the inspiration of the inhale and the deep connection, grounded rootedness of the exhale for the next few breaths. And know that you can be both buoyant and grounded simultaneously. And then become aware of your seat once again. Your seat connected to the floor, your chair. Become aware of your sacrum, your coccyx perhaps, your low spine. And then go inside the bones of your spine and find the spinal cord. And very slowly begin to trace your back, moving vertebra by vertebra up your back, but go inside and feel and see, visualize the spinal cord as you trace the energy up your back. And if there's any part of the back that twinges, doesn't feel like it's in optimal alignment, or is just a little sore in this moment, take an extra breath there and pause in and out. And then continue to follow your spinal cord up your back body, through your neck, through your head, right through the center of the brain and out through the crown of the head. And as the cord travels out through the crown of the head, know that it is connected above. It is held by spirit. It is held by universal consciousness. And just as you are connected and held in the arms of Mother Earth, you are fully supported and held by the divine. And then take your internal gaze to your eyebrow center. Soften your breath. And bring to mind reflections of loved ones, ancestors, heroic, inspirational people in your life. Perhaps veterans, perhaps people who have stood up for what is right. Whatever comes to mind now. And while you gaze at your space between the eyebrow center, allow the energy of your heart space to radiate and begin to fill your body with gratitude and love, holding these memories in a sacred place, perfectly balanced between mother and father, above and below, where they may be healed and supported. And as each visualization comes through, each memory comes through, observe it, thank it, and then let it pass. And if there's anything you need to say to any of these people, give yourself permission to say it, either silently or aloud. I feel a tremendous blockage in my throat. So I would encourage many of you to speak and to clear what it is you have to say. And then go into the heart space, deeper into the heart space, and allow this light to grow and to fill your whole body. And you may wish to extend your arms on either side of your body. And begin your inhale breath at the center of the chest and draw the inhale breath up towards your shoulders. And then allow the exhale breath to wash down your hands and out your palms and out your fingers. And again, inhaling from the center of the chest up to the shoulders. And exhale down the arms, out the palms and fingers. And just follow this breath cycle, sharing the energy of your heart space with all those around you. As we sit together in silence for about a minute. And then touch your fingers together. Feel your hands, perhaps rub your hands together. Either pat your body or create some heat in your hands and then cup your hands over your eyes, warming, invigorating your eyes. And then when you feel ready, come back and we'll carry on. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. It felt important to do that. All right, so we're going to go back over to this corner. And I was talking about how very beautiful it was to have this Chariot card sitting on top of the Lovers and the Transformation card here, and just how synchronistic this all was. And in this time of fire, and also moving through this portion here as well too. So the fire speaks to both of these cards, as the air speaks to both of these cards. I just want to be really mindful here that the air fueling this Prince of Swords could be very, very dangerous. And we need to be really mindful of quite literally forest fire here. So this feels a little bit, I want to talk about caution. You're so welcome, everybody. Beautiful, beautiful comment, my voice tarot. I want to just caution the querent here, because with air fueling air, it could be kind of a challenging time, you know, but this is sitting on top of the Green Woman and the Green Man. And so, you know, I need to be mindful that really whatever card comes here is going to be okay. It's just we need to talk about the energy of the Prince of Swords, because up here we had, it's like, I don't know, like what this change is and why we have, this could be people that come in to support you in the business, but there may be an aspect of yourself that's feeling a little confrontational. And so I want to err on the side of caution with that confrontation. And we do have the Ace of Bows and the Ten of Bows over here. And, you know, with the Ace of Bows, it feels like this Ace of, this spark of life really supports the Chariot card. But also, you know, with this 10 of fire here, it could all be a bit much. So this could just be him racing away for a vacation, you know, get me out of here. I need some space. And so the intensity of this corner is definitely felt. And I'm going to speak to that and to use that as a reminder. And so, you know, we were talking about at the beginning, well, you know, is this actually going to come to pass? Do you believe in time? What's the purpose of doing timing readings and so forth? I think it's just something, it's just food for thought, right? It's a reminder. It's a place of reflection. It's a place to, it's a way to, it's a way to invite mindfulness into your day, if nothing else, right? I think that's really kind of important here. Having that, like, this is the shaman, right? This is the number 1 card. This is the number 2 card. These 2 cards kind of work together in the inner and the outer worlds. And this definitely is a very active side of the reading. So I also want to caution the querent about his health and burnout and all of that as well too. As we move into the energy of vessels, we have the 8 and the 3 of vessels. on top of the wheel, with the wheel. Okay, and remember, this is the blasted oak here. So the lesson for this person in this beautiful time of summer, this is kind of like a double message here, right? Things are a changing, and sometimes the changes can be a little bit of a challenge. So everything that you have set up may not be exactly as you planned, but it's definitely working in your highest interest. This is a major card, and this is a reminder that things are going the way they're supposed to be going. So it's all about how you react to that. And we have the 3 of Vessels and the 8 of Vessels. And I want to just have a check in with the 8 of Vessels in the Wildwood guidebook. From the middle of a fast-flowing stream, we see an ancient cauldron hanging from a great chain. In the trees above it are 3 smaller cauldrons. Water and energy flow from them, filling the great cauldron, which in turn flows and fills 4 more, which sit on the rocks below and over the stream. By looking at the past, acknowledging our mistakes, and learning from them, we grow and attain new wisdom. The future awaits to be unfolded by our positive action, and we welcome the 8th vessel and receive powerful, rejuvenating energies and rebirth. Really interesting how this kind of happened. And then over here at the right, so this is the season of inward, turning inward, and then here we've got this 7 of Cups. And so look at the synchronicity of these 2 cards here, right? It's really quite profound. And, this is the wheel. It's like this guy, this person is just kind of a little bit ahead, in perfect sync with the wheel of the year. And here we have the Seer card. And this energy feels really deeply connected to this as well, too. So I feel that, if this were a real reading, this would be a really kind of a profound year for this person to step forth into something quite beautiful and quite magical with their career. The problem and the challenges are around perhaps society, perhaps family, perhaps the false expectations. Like I see this card as the false expectations that have been placed through family, traditions, culture, and so forth. And so the whole of this cycle are going to be about managing this and finding that confidence and that strength to stand as the King of Wands, to stand as the driver of the chariot, to embrace. And this 7 of Cups over here really feels like a bit of a retreat, which makes perfect sense at this time of year, that need to turn inward as we move into the colder weather and the colder season. So yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell how I go about this. And depending on whether we are sitting together or I'm doing an email reading, I love it. I love to do, I love doing this with email because, or if I do it like, sometimes I've even done a handwritten letter. I think it feels, I can actually leave the cards on the table and let them marinate a little bit, and different things will arise. And then to expand on that, I'll go, okay, well, this person's birthday is here. How does that affect the energy of that particular corner of the wheel? Or I know that their wedding anniversary is here. So how does that play into that, or different things that they may have shared with me? And so I really like this, and it feels so connected. And I actually like using the wildwood underneath as significator cards because it gives me more to talk about. Now, the other thing that you could do if you didn't want to use the wildwood tarot is to go to something like a wheel like this, and then do a little bit of reflection and meditation on the energy of what you associate each of those 8 points with. So all you would need to do, perhaps, so here's an idea. So suppose around Beltane. So Beltane is the energy of the fertility, birth, right? Well, actually, the birth happens a little bit around August 1st, but this is the time of fertility. So, and I'm looking at the energy of the lovers. So we've got a lot of balance stuff here. So you could choose an oracle card that reflected that energy and place that oracle card as the significator for Beltane. And that might be a really good exercise to do. And that's something I was trying to find an easy way out as I was preparing for this video, to see if I had a deck that actually had cards that said Mabon, Imolk, Lugnasad, but I don't. But I think what a better exercise would be to choose an oracle card that embodied the energy of each of these 8 points, and to place those down as significators. So that would be another way to do this. Okay. And one more thing. So the chat is not moving anywhere. I hope you guys are still there. The last question that I want to answer today, because I think this has been enough, is why would I do the Wheel of the Year, or when would I do the Wheel of the Year as opposed to doing a year ahead spread? So in my year ahead spread, I lay down 12 cards, one for each month. I lay down a card in the center, and then in the corners, I put down seasonal cards as well too. And sorry, when would I do that as opposed to something like this? To tell you the truth, I prefer this spread more. I've been using this spread a lot more than I have been with than a year ahead spread. I like to do a year ahead spread in January, and I do it. And more recently, I've been doing it in reflection to my card of the year. And last year, I think I did 17 readings, and I did it twice during the year, looking at the year ahead in reflection to the card of the year. So as I was saying earlier on, even with this spread, I like to have a question. I like to have a focus rather than just making it, a grab bag. And with I'm getting my terms all mixed up. And then with the year ahead spread, so that one card for each month spread, I like to have a focus. And so I've been the last couple of years doing that with the querence card for the year. And so if I do it on their birthday, or I do it at a different time that isn't January, I still put that card into the play, and I'm looking at their card for 2020, or their card next year for 2021. And I can do that at any time of the year because I'm always doing it 12 months. So we can start with whatever month we want to start with. We don't have to start with January. We don't have to start in March with Aries. We can start whenever we want to start. So I don't feel attached to doing either of these spreads at any particular time of year. I think there's flexibility, but the most important thing is that you have time. And it's great if you can leave the cards on the table for a little bit, because the cards need to, I don't know, there's always something else that comes into the story, into the factor. And if you can take photos and stuff, that's fine too. But it's really nice to leave the cards there, because sometimes you need to kind of move things around, or you know how it's so different to have a card in hand and to look at it than to look at it on a photo. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on this spread. And if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to address them. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with those readings, then you can go to, I can actually link it later for you. I can link it in the description box later about those readings that I did. And I probably will do it again this January. And one of the things that I find that we don't do is we don't go back often enough to revisit these spreads. So people ask me, why did I do the follow-up one? Because I think I did it around spring. Maybe I did it around Beltane. I did a follow-up reading to the year ahead reading with the card of the year. And that was really interesting, because I like to go back and reflect, not just do it once and then that's the way it is and it gets lost in a journal somewhere. It's good. It's good to go back and reflect. Alrighty. Okay, so let me know. I will sign off and leave you for today. And if you need any clarification on this, you can always put a comment below, or you can send me an email. And if you know of anyone that would like to work with me, to do the reading classes, the Read With Me classes, then please share this information. And the level 1 is starting next Sunday. And then a week today, I'm going to do the level 2, which is going to focus all about tarot and timings and so forth. A few other things, but mostly timings. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.